So Chevy has announced the 2025 model year changes for its most affordable and very popular subcompact SUV, the Chevy Trax, and with the 2025 model year comes at least one big change. So starting out with the deletions, there are at least 4 exterior colors that are no longer available for the next model year, and those are the Cayenne Orange Metallic, Blue Glow Metallic, Fountain Blue, as well as the Harvest Bronze Metallic. A couple of these I actually really enjoyed on the Chevy Trax and helped differentiate it from other subcompacts currently on the market, and it's always a bummer to see a one model year color, and that is unfortunately the case with a few of these, but luckily Chevy is introducing at least 2 exterior colors, which we'll touch on here in a second. And also, in addition to 4 exterior colors going away, the Ecotec 1.2 liter turbo engine gets a major change. No, it's not going away and getting replaced by a more powerful engine. Yes, that would be nice in a vehicle like this, but again, this is a very, very affordable subcompact SUV. I think the 1.2 liter turbo is sufficient, especially compared to that 6-speed torque converted automatic. But no, that's not going away, but it is getting a big change. So next up, moving into the new features, there's 2 new exterior colors like I mentioned, and those are Cypress Gray as well as Marina Blue Metallic. Now I went ahead and double checked the paint codes across other GM vehicles because sometimes paints are simply renamed for use across the GMC, Buick lineup, etc. And as far as I can tell, these are not currently available on other GM products in their lineup. So it will be interesting to see what these look like on the 2025 Chevy Trax. As we know, we have the new slate gray on the 2024 Silverado and Silverado Heavy Duty, and I don't believe this Cypress Gray is going to be the same as that, but it could be a slight variation of a similar type of gray. So nice to see they at least introduce a new blue exterior to replace the 2 blues going away, but interesting to see what these new colors have for 2025. And finally, the biggest change for the 2025 Chevy Trax is the addition of the 1.2 liter turbocharged engine with E85 compatibility. Yes, this engine is going to be able to support and run on E85 fuel. And honestly, I wasn't expecting to see this change for the 2025 Chevy Trax, even though GM does have a history of making and producing E85 compatible engines. But that is going to be a welcome change to some because you can basically pick the type of fuel you want to use all the way up to E85, which is mostly ethanol based. And you know, the 1.2 liter turbocharged engine will run on it. It's generally a little bit cheaper of a fuel as well, but you do sacrifice a little bit in terms of fuel economy if you do choose to run the E85. But of course, this engine will also support the normal ethanol, blends, E10, E15, stuff like that, 87, 89, 91 octane, etc. Basically, pick your poison for what fuel you want to put in the 2025 model year Chevy Trax, but definitely the biggest change and most interesting. And finally, going on to the things that change in terms of some of the packaging and contents for 2025, it's really just going to come down to exterior and interior colors and which ones are available on the new trims. So starting out, Cacti Green is now an active exclusive color that was formerly available on active as well as the RS. Crimson Metallic, which is the red metallic exterior, is no longer available on the active trim. Formerly available across every trim, so you can no longer get that on the active, but it still remains available on the rest of the trim lineup. We have the Cypress Gray, which is an LS and LT specific color, so that is the only 2 trims that color is going to be available on. And then finally, we have Marina Blue, which is of course the new blue color, which is going to be available on all trims, no matter which one you get. So interesting changes for the color lineup because as we know, Cacti Green was kind of a debut color for the Trax, and it did debut on the active, but I really did like it on the RS, specifically the 2 RS as well, but it looks like that is no longer going to be available on the RS trim. So that's basically what changed for the trim structure and the trim lineup. And just a note, if you do get an LT, you can choose either the yellow accents or the blue accents across some of the dashboards and the vent layout, and I believe that carries on to the stitching for the seats as well. Versus something like the active, which only comes with the yellow accents on the interior. But basically, those are the 4 exterior colors and their limitations for the lineup. The rest of the color palette, including the white, black, and some of the yellows, are all going to be available on the same trims or across all trims as it was for 2024. Now that's pretty much going to do it for this video on the 2025 model year changes here for the Chevy Trax. I went ahead and went through the fleet order guide, and I really couldn't find any other packaging changes for this vehicle. And of course, I really wouldn't expect it given it was all new for 2024. So if you're looking at a 2025 Trax, it basically comes down to E85 compatible and the exterior color changes, which are quite big in my opinion, because there's a lot of people out there that do shop for these subcompacts with the brighter, kind of unique color accents. and it looks like GM is already pulling back on what is going to be available for the 2025. So I would highly recommend checking out their leftover 2024 at this point if you're interested in some of the colors that are going away, or like the cacti green on a 2RS, for example. If you can find it out there on a dealership lot, I would highly recommend scooping it up. Another thing to note in terms of exterior colors is that Chevy has already built out some of these exterior colors for 2024 model year, so everything at your local dealership or in transit to your dealership is basically the only supply that they have left of certain colors, certain trim configurations, etc., as they slowly wind down 2024 and eventually move into 2025 production and implement some of these changes. So if you're looking for certain configurations, a 2RS cacti green, for example, I would highly recommend scooping one up if you can find one, because those are certainly going to be some rare vehicles out there on dealership lots. But basically, that wraps up this video. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it and or found something helpful. If you did, make sure to hit that like button below. It greatly helps out the channel, these videos. Subscribe if you haven't already, and make sure to check out some of my coverage of the 2024 Chevy Trax, both my first driving impressions, everything like that I produced over the last several months with that vehicle, because it is a really special vehicle for the the $25,000 price point. 27 if you fully load it in the 2RS or Active. I think it is an exceptional bargain in a world where everything is more expensive. So make sure to check out that content here at the channel. I really enjoy the Chevy Trax. But anyways, let me know your thoughts on some of the changes and the colors down in the description below. Interesting to hear that. And if you happen to own a Chevy Trax, let me know how your ownership experience is going and how you are liking the vehicle. Because personally, like I said, I really like it, but I've only lived with it for a day or so at a time, never over a long-term loan or anything like that. So let me know how your ownership experience is going. Once again, I appreciate the continued support and hope to see you guys in the next one.